Hi everybody, and welcome back to Diary of an Ex-Teacher. There was over 50 downloads last week between YouTube and podcasts, so thanks so much for taking the time to listen. I'm just so happy to know that the episodes that I'm putting out here are of some value. Or even if you just feel like you're listening to hopefully it's like listening to your friend just chat away. That's the kind of feel that I wanted to have. But anyway, thanks so much for listening, and also the people that get in touch, like via DM or the text message function on the podcast. So yeah, thanks so much. So this week has been pretty busy. I know that all the schools in the UAE, the teachers were all back in last week, but I still managed to catch up with a couple of friends, which was nice. But personally, I know that I'd mentioned last time that I was going to start sharing some of the things I've been learning about, but I think I will do that in time. But I think today it was important just to kind of acknowledge the start of the term. I know that in the UK, some schools are back already. I'm not sure about the US, I think they are. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the start of term, teacher wellbeing, and also I suppose if you work in a different industry, it's also thinking about any takeaways here that can support your wellbeing as well, even if it isn't the start of the academic year, doesn't mean anything to you. So yeah, I think the main theme for this episode, and I think I've maybe called one of these episodes this before, is freedom. So last week, I have to be totally honest, and I don't want anyone to get cross with me, but I literally love not getting up so early to head into school on the first day of term. The reason being is because although it was so lovely to see everyone, like all your colleagues and everything, you all know how busy it can be, like setting up the classroom. You've got loads of different insets to go to. You're trying to catch up with everyone in between doing your classroom up again. There's a lot of meetings, just new initiatives, lots happening. So it actually is quite a busy week, although you get a great sense of achievement once your room is all done, getting ready to welcome in the kids. So there's a couple of things I do miss, but one of the things I don't miss is for me anyway, it was like the build up of the excitement of seeing the kids on the Monday, but then also knowing that for me there was going to be an endless to-do list, loads of deadlines, stuff like that. So I think today when I'm talking about freedom, and again, so many teachers over the couple of years that I've had this podcast or social media or whatever, always say I'm thinking about moving on, I don't know where to start, that kind of thing. So I've always said I can support with that. One of the posts that I put out last week was about that. It's the difference between coaching and mentoring, because quite often I would have some clients who would be interested in perhaps some of the things that I did while I was in school. So some teachers might be interested in how to self-publish their own book. Some were interested in being the Wellbeing champion for their school. Some within their schools, there was no real wellbeing provision explicitly, so they wanted to start integrating that or start the role. And it's so nice to help people that are on that journey. So to me, that would be more of a kind of mentoring session, because I think I was the wellbeing person in my last school for about 7 years or something. And I did do some cool things. I went to a conference in China, I went to a conference in Dallas, and I was part of a team with a PhD that were presenting on wellbeing, because it was at the beginning stages of the initiative then. Bear in mind, I've left teaching 2 years, so it was even longer ago than that. It's 9 years. So also throughout that journey, moving from a classroom and doing the little things for wellbeing for children within the class, trying to move into whole school initiatives, trying to support teacher wellbeing, and it's hard, because there's already so much going on. So I guess the post was kind of highlighting to anyone that is interested in staying in teaching, but they're interested in wellbeing and growing that within their school. That's something that I can help with. So that was definitely useful for me to almost kind of separate from my own coaching sessions the difference between mentoring and coaching. Because when it comes to coaching, anyone in education or anyone out with education, it's more about you come with the goals, the area that you're wanting to develop in. And I always say that I should talk way less than the client because it's your session, and my job is to listen and ask powerful questions at the right time. So that can quite often change perspective or support people to have a different way of thinking, and then by the end of the session we would come up with some like actionable steps towards your goal. So yeah, that was something that I can put the link to the post in the notes here. So that's quite a nice one to think about if you have been thinking about change, but you either want to stay in education within the wellbeing field, or you would like some coaching sessions about career change, different things like that. So that was something I thought I had the freedom to sit and think about what I can actually offer. And something that's really nice about that is also kind of making your own schedule, which, to be honest, over the last year or so I've found quite tricky because like there's no timetable, there isn't a music class at 9:40, whatever it is. It's like I have to make my own schedule, so that took some getting used to. But again, thinking about what I mentioned last week, kind of starting my own business or my own company, hopefully, I feel like that's one of my goals, is to start becoming really organised and productive. So going back to that, I think within the last week, something I've been starting to look at, and this will be useful for people in the UAE who, or perhaps teachers that are starting to do their own thing. While you're working in the school, if you do have like a kind of side hustle, if you like, often you have to get an NOC document from schools, so it's like no objection certificate to say that they don't mind you doing different things out with school. So when I was doing some work for different places, like an app called Yoo-Hoo, and what was the other one? Yeah, there was another wellbeing centre I was doing some clubs and things for. I had to get a no objection letter, and also for some consultancy work for different firms where I would write some content for them. But it depends on your school if you're in the UAE, but that's definitely something you can think about. But again, thinking about I was looking at all the paperwork that goes around starting a new business or a new company. So the next thing for me is probably a visa. So if you're working in the UAE for a school or a company, they often provide your visa, but it's that's one way to live here, basically. Another thing to do is apply for a golden visa, but there's lots of different pathways to do that. So I've been kind of looking into them because I have been here a long time, and I think I've contributed in different areas. So I've been speaking with a consultant about how to go about getting that. And again, also, if you open a company or different things, you can have a visa based on or through your business. So I'm still on a company visa just now, but it's just something that if you're interested or you know more about it and you want to share it with me, please do. But it's also something that I thought would be really nice to share as part of the journey, like that I've been going on within the last week since the last spoke to you. I'm just looking at my notes down here as well. Oh yeah, and licensing, that's another thing. So I've actually been doing a lot of adulting this week in terms of like paperwork, admin, while also trying to keeping up with the things that I do for the place that I work in just now. So that was something else I wanted to kind of mention when you're thinking about maybe career change, or if you are in education and you're looking to expand a little bit. I've talked about it before, the huge skill set that you have that you can transfer over to different industries. I think I mentioned before, for this company also, I've been doing communications and marketing to a point and supporting with that. So if you think about the admin capabilities and all the different things that you've got that you can utilise to grow your own business or to support your own thing. So that's definitely something I kind of wanted to mention as well when I was talking about the coaching and mentoring. So another thing that I wanted to talk about when it came to the theme of freedom is I think that for me, I knew the right choice was to try something new and follow my heart, but it was a very difficult decision to make. But it's definitely one of the best things that I've ever done for me, because now I can really follow my passion. So when you're thinking about the word freedom, and within whatever industry you're in or within education, think about your free time and how much of that is doing things that you really love. Or if there are things that you really love within your role in education, it's like, how much time do you get to dedicate to that? So I think I did ignore the signs for so long that it was time to move on, but I had been thinking about it, but then the pandemic happened, obviously, and the whole world was like turned upside down, so there was a lot more to consider then. I think I can't remember what I've talked about in the previous episodes, not the last one, but before, so I think I've probably mentioned that. But I think something now that I'm taking forward with me, even considering thinking about, a new business and stuff, is really listening to myself and being aware of the signs and like what I need. So again, another way to do that, I suppose, is meditation, intuition, enhancing your intuition. That's something that I'll probably talk in a bit more depth about when I do the episode about divine feminine classes. I'd say that my intuition is definitely expanded. So yeah, I think it's listening to yourself. But I know it was the right choice, but I did ignore the signs for so long. So I don't know, I guess I'm just mentioning it because at the start of every academic year, I've got so many friends who are in education and they say, this will be my last year, or maybe I'll move on after this. And the years just roll on because it's so busy. So I think I wanted to mention that. And excuse me, another thing I had to do when considering freedom is I almost had to free myself from a particular mindset. What I used to do a lot when I was in education was possibly thinking about the things that I didn't have. So although I, did a lot in terms of well-being and things like that, I always used to tell myself that I would never be able to leave education, or I would never be able to start my own company because I had to depend on like school visa or school medical. And also I used to be like really ridiculous about the fact that I was a single woman, because I thought, well, if you have a husband, you're on a spousal visa and it's easier, you can start your own business. So the universe taught me the hard way, and I've managed to do all these things. So I think one of the things that I've kind of freed myself from is a lack mindset. So now I'm more looking at the things that I do have, and I've often talked about gratitude as a positive psychology concept, but there's so many papers about it and scientific studies and things, and although it shows up also in many spiritual practices and things, definitely thinking more about gratitude. And that is what I'm kicking off this journey with, of starting my own thing. So I'm thinking about that I was able to do certain things myself. I've found myself, because of the passion I have for well-being, I found myself a lovely place to work, and I will continue to work with them. I've made loads of friends there, and I have my apartment, like there's lots of different opportunities that I've got here. I've got a great network, so looking more towards the things to be grateful for. So I definitely freed myself from a lack mindset, and I'm very aware of it. Again, that's when meditation can help, because it helps you, or mindfulness even, mindful awareness can help you notice when those thoughts come in about perhaps lacking in something or things like that. So another thing, this is what I'm constantly working on, and I think I've done a podcast episode with the Free Spirit Collective about this, is procrastination. So when I look back to the time where I was a full-time teacher, doing all the wellbeing stuff, doing my masters, self-published 2 children's books, as in found the editor, found the illustrator, found the printer, all the paperwork that goes with it, all that kind of stuff. And I managed to do it all when I was teaching. So when I left teaching, the pace of life like slowed right down. So although I've still been busy working with coaching clients and kids clubs and things like that, communications and marketing, I've still been doing quite a lot of things. But I've got so much more time because, again, like I was saying before, my time is free. It's me that's got to schedule it. So I think it took me a real long time, like I said, to get used to that. But what I've noticed is I haven't managed to undertake as many projects as I did when I was teaching full time. So I feel like when I look back to that time, I was running at 90 miles an hour, figuratively. I'd never run. I couldn't run the length of myself. But yeah, like 90 miles, 100 miles an hour all the time, just constantly doing. And I was exhausted at the end of the teaching career, you know. But now, again, when I was thinking about what I'd said before about lack, and I've been looking at it in terms of, yeah, I've got all this freedom now, and it's probably not helpful for me to look at the projects and things that I haven't been doing, even though I've got all this time. It really brought me back to thinking, you just need to be kinder to yourself. So it's been really nice to start the new academic year with total grounded energy. I feel physically well, I feel mentally well, and the timeline's nice. So I've been thinking about, you know, start of the year, get the podcast back up, the newsletter, all the bits and pieces. And then what's really nice is being able to share the big weekly jobs in this diary of an ex-teacher that I've been looking at. So it's almost gives me the motivation to keep going, because often when people do get in touch with me, they say, you know, oh, that really made me think about this, or thanks for saying that, it made me look at this in this way. You know, so to me that's value, and anything that even impacts someone's well-being a little bit, or subjective well-being, is what I'm all about. So I feel like this time I've just kind of waffled a little bit. I'm not as structured in these episodes as I have been before. That will get better in time. I just feel like my main target is to actually get an episode out every week. So anyway, I hope this little chat has just been as useful as the previous episodes. But the things I want you to just take away is the difference between coaching and mentoring, and how that could be useful for you. Some people did reach out to me last week, and I've messaged you back. Get back in touch again if you're interested, and of course anyone else. So ask any questions about anything, or just tell me your news. So, checking my notes. Yeah, that's it. So see you next time.